Hey, is that folk music there you play there? What is that? How do you call that folk music?
I think it was Studs Terkel who asked Big Bill Brunzi, did he consider his blues music to be folk music? And Big Bill says, well, never heard no horse.
Don't hesitate. It could be your ticket to a new tomorrow.
Morris Street in Morristown, New Jersey, 07. Show was Horses Sing None of It, and that was a version, I think, of John Henry was an avant-garde steel driving man.
Well, actually, a horse taught me that tune, so that belies the fact that horses sing none of it.
All right, and our guest today is Mark Cosgrove. Welcome to the show, Mark.
Thank you so much.
Accompanied on bass by Larry Cohen.
Hey,
and how you doing today? Welcome
Pretty
to
good.
the show. We finally got the cameras rolling. We're glad to have you here.
Great to be here.
And Mark is no slouch on the guitar, as our viewers have probably gathered. He has, in 1994, won the Doc Watson Guitar Championship, and then went on to take second and first place in the following years from Winfield, Kansas.
This is all true, and
Guilty as charged.
guilty as charged. Looks good on the resume.
All those wasted years.
Let me tell you a quick story about being the national flat-picking champion, if I might.
Sure.
Just a quick
yeah.
one. My wife has a distant relative who's a very rich guy, and he actually has a seat on the New York Stock Exchange. I wish he was her dad, but nah, I don't. Anyway, this guy gave an obscenely expensive wedding for his oldest daughter, and we were expected to show up, and of course she was excited about going. I was maybe a little less. But I put my little tie on, my jacket, and we went to the wedding. And then afterwards there was a reception with lots of beverages available. So the room started to get real loud. And this guy on the stock exchange walks over to me on the New York Stock Exchange, and he grabs me by the arm and he says, "Mark, I want you to meet the head of the Boston Stock Exchange." And I said, "Why?" And this guy's a couple years older than me, but he treats me a little bit condescendingly, you might say. And he grabs me by the arm. He said, "I want to tell him all about you." So I'm thinking to myself, oh man, here we go. I'm going to have to explain, fiddle music from the British Isles all the way down to, Anyway, he marches me over there in this older guy's big expensive suit, and he's having drinks. And the room's loud, and there's people laughing. And sure enough, the guy says, "I'd like you to meet Mark Cosgrove. He was the winner of the 1995 National Flatpicking Championship." And I'm going, here we go. Well, the guy says, "It's an honor to meet you." He says, "I know how hard an accomplishment, how difficult an accomplishment that is, and I can't tell you how much I respect you for that." Well, chest started to swell out a little bit. Oh, the head of the Boston Stock Exchange, he's a picker. And the guy said, "Not only that, but my buddies and I would be honored if you would give us some lessons." Well, yeah, sure. So he goes on to say, "We have a retreat in Idaho, and we'd like to fly you out there and have you give us some lessons for a weekend, and we'll pay you big bucks." So this is sounding better all the time. I said, "Yeah, I might be able to fit that into my schedule." So a couple more sips, and we're chatting. And he says, gets a little conspiratorial. He says, "You know what? I really need a lot of help with my tying my own flies." So I started to get a little worried. I said, "Oh, really?" I'm trying to think of which fiddle tune that is. Tying my own flies. Then he goes on to say, "But I really love the way you pros cast." And I said, uh-oh, what is this? And so I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "Well, I want to learn from the best, the national fly fishing champion." He hadn't heard it right. So that's just a short story to show what kind of respect you get for earning these guitar titles.
There you go. Very nice. Great story.
It's true. Absolutely true.
Well, give us another tune to impress that Boston Stock Exchange guy.
Maybe he's having a martini right now and listening. I don't know. Yeah, I want to do a tune for you. This is a sort of a brisk number. Let's kick it off, Larry. 1, 2, 3, 4.
And his fingers never left his hands,
Never
ladies
left
and
his
gentlemen.
hands. No, no, sir, no, sir, no, sir.
Cool. What was that called?
That's the New Camptown Races.
All right, that's a swinger.
It's a swinger, all right.
I'd like to mention that Larry has been a guest on this show before in the ancient history period of Horses Sing None of It. He was here with Silk City with Barry Mitterhoff and Danny Weiss, and I guess that was the group that appeared. And I remember you did the Wizard of Oz medley.
We probably would have done.
In which you portray the lion part.
That's right.
And so we're glad to have you back.
Oh, well, it's a pleasure.
Well, I'm glad to have him with me, that's for sure.
And I guess the other connection that brings up is that Tony Trischka, who played with all of those guys that were on that show, also plays with you sometimes.
Sometimes. He's been on my first record and my most recent one, which we're just mixing now, actually, that Larry is producing. Tony is all over that record, and
It's just about done.
just about done.
Cool. Well, while we're on the subject of records, why don't we show some of your product here?
Okey doke.
You'll have to be the moderator because I can't read upside down too good.
All right, what are we beginning with? That just came out last week. It's a CD called Live from Winfield. It's direct from the board tape of 3 national champions: Cody Kilby, who's the '98 champion, Alan Shadd, '97, and myself, '95, and all of the competition pieces, all 4 of them that we played in order to win at Winfield on those respective years.
Cool.
So that's a very interesting CD, but not for civilians necessarily.
That's for guitar
It's for-
aficionados, for addicts.
It's a neat CD, actually. That's Good Medicine, which was released in '95, and that's a record which includes Larry Cohen, Tony Trischka, Barry Mitterhoff, a host of others, and that one is my most recent solo record.
Cool. And then you've got some books here that have your name on them.
Yeah, I got hooked in with Mel Bay in, I guess, shortly after, somewhere around '95, and he asked if I wanted to do a book of just the instrumentals from the Good Medicine CD, plus 3 previously unreleased instrumentals. So that's a book CD combination with tab and notation.
Cool.
That's another Mel Bay flatpicking collection book, which I feel fortunate enough to be a part of. There's folks like Jack Lawrence, and Doc Watson is on there, and Norman Blake, and Beppe Gambetta, and a bunch of other guys. So that is another Mel Bay. That's called the Winfield Winners. That's a book CD combination of most of the winners of the last 20 or 25 years, and contributions of each one.
Cool.
Yeah.
So these Mel Bay things can be found in most music stores, I
Yeah.
imagine. And the CDs, if people want information about that or about your touring schedule, they can call you up or email you.
Yep.
If Alec can bring up that information, hopefully, or I'll edit it in later.
There it is.
There it is,
There we
yeah.
go. All right, Alec.
Great.
The email address is mjcos@yahoo.com,
Right.
mjcos@yahoo.com, or if you want to call Mark at 215-766-2722. That's 215-766-2722, ladies and gentlemen, for information about Mark Cosgrove's recordings and touring schedule.
Terrific.
So I see you're capoed way up the neck there. What do you got in line for us?
I'm gonna sing you a song from the Good Medicine CD. It's a song about loneliness and despair, 2 of my favorite subjects.
Ever popular in bluegrass music as well.
Well, this isn't quite a bluegrass tune, but anyway, I'm going to sing it for you. It goes like this. I'm tired to the bone. My back is to the wall. I've been on my own so long I can't recall. Take me in your arms tonight. my rest, so I can take some rest. Maine to Mexico, across the Great Divide, in rain and in snow. Oh, how I ride. Take me in your arms tonight. Hold me to your breast. Tell me it will be alright. So I take my rest. So I could take some rest. The time for us is near. The lightning streaks the sky. The thunder in my ear echoes with goodbye. Take me in your arms tonight. Hold me to your breast. Tell me it will be alright, so I can take my rest. So I can take some rest.
Yeah.
Thank you, Ralph.
All right, all right. Now, the first time we met, you were kind of the driving wheel in a late night, hours-long jam session at the Folk Alliance
That's
in
right.
the Poconos.
That's right. That's what is that? Last? Well, it doesn't really matter. But last fall.
February of '99, I think.
Yeah, that was a fun night. I remember Dee Dee Weiland was sitting there with us, and some members of her band. Of course, Larry was there, and guys from my band, and
No, you're right. It was the fall of '98.
'98.
That's right.
Yeah.
I remember that being a good time. We showcased there that year, and we did well. We had a good time.
Good.
It was fun playing with you. I enjoyed it.
Landed some bookings out of that showcase.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, it did well. Eh? Good. Nice to know that works.
Well, I think it works. I think in some situations it works better than others, but it's well worth doing. And we'll leave it right there.
Cool. So have you been doing some traveling? I
sure
recall
have.
hearing that you were going to Europe at one point.
Yeah, I go to Europe twice a year, March and October. So I leave October 13th coming up and come back November 9th. And I tour with a woman named Liz Meyer, who's originally from Washington, D.C., and she's an excellent singer-songwriter. And I first met her over in Europe when I was touring with a bluegrass band from Philadelphia called the Lewis Brothers, and we went over, and the sound engineer that did our sound was her husband. He's a fantastic sound technician and also a super guy, a Dutch guy named Peter Grunveld, who since now has a record company called Strictly Country, SCR. He took over, and Liz is on that label. Actually, Liz and I have a live album coming out on that label. So I'm out with her twice a year, and that's fun. But I've just lately been very busy. I just got back from Michigan, what was it, Sunday. I did a thing at Elderly Instruments, an in-house concert with Alan and Cody, who were the two guys on the first CD that you held up, the two other national champions. And before that, I was down south, and I've been running around a little bit. But August slows down.
Where do you hit when you're in Europe? What countries do you go through?
We play mostly in Germany. There's a lot of venues in Germany, and it seems that the Germans are fairly well off these days and able to spend time and money on entertainment and CDs and stuff. And they're great audiences. They're very easily amused. And,
As long as they got their stein of beer with them, right?
yeah, well, we play these great gigs. Liz is a booking agent as well as being a performer. She books people that come over like Dan Crary and Beppe Gambetta and various other people, Mike Dowling. So she knows the ins and outs of the available venues. So when she books us, we get the
Cream of the crop.
the cream of the crop. We did play a few dogs, but mostly it was just totally humane. We had a nice car, and we just cruised from these little theaters where usually it's a little town that has a budget for maybe 1 or 2 concerts a year, and they're very well attended, and
Great.
they're nice gigs.
Sounds like fun.
Yeah, it is.
You want to give us another tune?
Sure, I'd love to. Why don't we try that old Forked Deer? There's an old traditional one. Ready on my left? Yes, sir. There it is. There you have it.
Cool. Well, we just have enough time, I think, to do our little jam session we worked out.
Great. That sounds like fun. We were going to do a little...
Ragtime, Annie.
Oh, I thought it was that weather report tune that we were playing earlier. Oops. Sorry.
Okay. Well, if you want to take a chance.
Just teasing.
Just teasing back.
Okay. One thing about playing in Europe, particularly the Dutch guys, they're really funny, and if you get self-deprecating at all, they'll join right in. If you say something like, "Oh man, I really just had an off night tonight. I couldn't seem to put anything together," they'll go, "Yeah, you sure did." around here, you're hoping that maybe someone will say, "No, Mark, it's okay. You sounded all right."
They're just trying to be helpful.
Just trying to be helpful. All right.
So thanks a lot for being on the show.
Thanks for having
Mark,
me.
Larry.
It's a pleasure.
Yeah, always a pleasure to see you.
All right. I hope we'll run across each other in another jam session sometime soon.
I would think
I
we
hope
probably
so,
will.
too.
Even sooner than next minute.